Hello, intrepid viewers. Dr. Lena, coming to you from the future because it's already Friday in Australia. So, since I saw you last, the Letitia James case. How much do we love Letitia James? This much. And I have to say, when I first saw the news, I was ecstatic, like I'm sure you all were. And then after a day or so, I started to get a little bit worried. I was thinking, $250 million sounds eye-watering to us as mere mortals. But I thought, there's four of them, the Yeti and the three demonic offspring, 60 mil each and a bit, it's not even enough. And I went, only to find I was reassured by Michael Cohen that there are many other cases hinging on this, and he puts the estimate at over 750 million by the time these things come out in the wash. Yeah. Meanwhile, before I get into that, I just saw this morning that the Yeti went on Hannity to talk about declassifying documents. And he said that if you're president of the United States, you can declassify documents by looking at them or even just thinking about it. Okay, now this is actually deranged. And I don't care what side of politics you're on. Surely you prefer your leader to be sane. Just thinking about it. Maybe he should start his own YouTube, The Yeti Reveals Psychic Insights from DJ Trump. Delirious. He is just toying with democracy, and not just in the US. This is so deranged, it actually impacts on the whole world. Can you believe it? So, Letitia James, I want to read on where to from here. Because as we know, we've seen these people, weasel out of so many legal situations. Let's have a look at the next stage in the Letitia James investigation. Oops, what fell out? The Knight of Pentacles. Oh, that's one of the kids. Okay, of course, I am using the One World Tarot. This is the deck designed by myself and Sienna Rose, Metaphysical. And we really hope the book, as much as the cards, are useful to new readers, new baby readers. So here we go on the next stage of Letitia James. I'm sorry. I'm so het up with it all. Their first card was going. Look, I think she's done her homework. She's been very, very thorough. I think in some ways, intrepid viewers, this is going to be even worse for the kids. I hate using that word. They're middle-aged now. For his fawning offspring than it is for the Yeti. As I said, this leapt out of the pack, the Knight of Pentacles. In political tarot, not normal people's tarot, in political tarot, my card of the mercenary. So I think by delving into Ivanka and Don Jr. and Eric's finances, there is so much more. They're out in the cold in more ways than one. I think, again, when I look at this spread, I keep thinking of the three offspring rather than the Yeti himself. I think they're now socially out in the cold. There's no way they're getting invitations to the Hamptons or invitations to lunch. They're socially out in the cold. they're going to do their best to juggle and manipulate and delay, delay, delay. That is the family motto, is it not? They're going to do their best, but see, the waters are choppy. It's getting harder to balance. It's getting harder to keep the balls in the air, or in fact, the lies. Letitia James has brought them to this point where they could be looking at very constrained circumstances. When you trade on a name and that name is trashed, that's your earning power for the future. So even though she can't, this can be the card of jail, of course, and that might still happen, you know, if there is a God, through the criminal arm of this, but sufficient to say she's bound them up now. The Ace of Pentacles, it's their attraction to money, their devotion to money, their worship of money, their prostitution of themselves to the pursuit of the almighty dollar has brought them undone. And I think, I hope, this is the Two of Cups. That is we, the people. Listen to me as an Australian. So speaking on behalf of, you know, decent Americans, and particularly you, intrepid viewers, I think there'll be satisfaction here, and I think it will go further. But I have a bit of hesitation about this card because it can also be bringing together in a pact or a deal. And I wouldn't be totally surprised if there isn't a deal. I think apparently the Yeti's lawyers proposed something and she batted it away. They might end up striking a deal, but do not fret because I think this will still go further in other directions. So don't get disheartened if you hear that a deal has been struck. Okay. So that is them. Oh, if anyone deserved a holiday, it's Letitia James. You know, she's been at this, what, 4 years or something? You know, truly. Now, I want to have a look here at the Federalist Society. It keeps coming up over and over. And I think they even were before the Tea Party and all of that. And it's a very difficult to penetrate mysterious group that seems committed to taking America back to the Dark Ages. They're totally committed, not just back to the 50s. You know, just they want to take everything back 200 years. So they keep turning up. Now, there's a Democrat. Is he a senator or a congressman? Please let me know. Sheldon Whitehouse. And he's devoted himself to following the money in the Federalist Society because it pays for confirmations and selling these Supreme Court judges to get them across the line. And of the Federalist supported judges, there's Justice Thomas, there's Samuel Alito, Clarence Thomas. Did I say Roberts before? I meant to say Roberts, not Tom. Okay. Clarence Thomas, Neil Gorsuch, Brett Kavanaugh, and Amy Coney Barrett. So they are all children of the Federalist Society. So I'm going to look at what we can find out about this organization because it's really, really sinister and it's really, really influential. Okay. Let's have a look at the Federalist Society. Yes, very secret. Now, we should not be surprised. Bang in the middle. the hermit. They do things behind the scenes and undercover. Their aim is to take over the judiciary. And you know what? They're doing really well because the numbers are there. That's why they're so scary at this point. So that is their aim. What were their past actions? Planning, strategy. I'm talking 30 or 40 years of planning and strategy here, because you had a few real governments in between. You know, you had the Clintons and Obama and so forth. But here you go, the strategies. Where are they at the moment? They're having a bit of a rethink, not about their fundamental philosophy or anything, but rethink of how to move forward, because these are not stupid people per se. And so they understand the Supreme Court is looking really bad. See, they're suffering. I digress. Yes. They're suffering from the same thing the GOP is. They've gone always, just get a conservative in, an arch conservative, just get a conservative in. And they've ended up with these people who are very poor legal scholars and very flawed people. And so they're having to rethink their strategy and possibly how to cover their tracks a bit better. So at the moment, what they're thinking about, when I say they, that's interesting in itself because it's big bucks. So various names have come up in relation to the Federalist Society, including Rebecca Mercer, remember, with the hideous father, Bob Mercer, and all of that. So this is the Three of Pentacles. This is scheming. They're actually a bit worried. They've been hugely successful buying Supreme Court votes, but now they're rethinking their strategy. They're also making new deals with new people. So I wonder who that's about. Food for thought. Outcome for the Federalist Society. Now, they have been massively successful, and yet they get the Ten of Swords, the end of a cycle in a big way. It could be that they've become more and more blatant by pushing people like Kavanaugh and Amy Coney Barrett and stuff. Even Aileen Cannon apparently is a Federalist appointment. They've let their guard down and they've let too many shonky nobodies through. This could expose them in the end. But this is tarot. So this doesn't mean, you know, by November they're going to fall over and think, this could be in 4 years' time. But this is talking about where they are going. Right? And I think the years coming up are so important for the US. Everything rests on the next 1 or 2 election cycles and the vibration in America. If it shifts and changes for the better, I think the Federalist Society will go under. They'll be exposed on some level and go under. But that's a big claim, and it requires the majority of 360 million people to really lift and demand a better America. Goodness me. Okay. So now I also want to get into Putin and who's going to replace him. So let's just have a quick look at Sidney Powell, who forgot to turn up for her grand jury deposition in the Georgia case. Said it was a scheduling error. Well, that's new, isn't it? It's a change from the dog ate my subpoena. Really, these people, they do think everyone else is stupid. They really, really do. Okay, Sidney Powell. Sidney Powell. Because like Letitia James, Barney Willis is a force to deal with. She will not be impressed by this. Now, Sidney Powell. Look, just by not turning up, she's fighting this subpoena. You see, Trump has created this precedent for thumbing your nose at the law, and everyone is suffering as a repercussion of that. If he dropped off the perch tomorrow, America is still left with this thing. Subpoena doesn't apply to me, So the sword raised. This is my Fred Flintstone card for her. She's not dumb, but she's very blinded. She just sees things one way. It's that way or forget about it. Now, with the Three of Swords and the traditional broken heart, I really don't think this is talking about her love life. I think this is talking about how she will be abandoned like everyone else in the realm of the Yeti. And there's a possibility she'll be hurt and mystified by that. Really? Who's stupid now? They want to talk to her about the attempted theft of the election in Georgia. And apparently she was instrumental in some way, either on those phone calls or be in the room with the phone calls or whatever. Cards close to the chest here, holding on. I think she's going to go the 5th and the 6th and the 7th. She's not going to reveal much. Not going to reveal much at all. But I don't think her testimony is going to break the deal. I really, really don't. Okay. Now, also in the UK, see, we've got to remember the UK used to be very different from the US in terms of different forms of democracy, etc. Generally speaking, the Brits were much more genteel in their politics. But those days have gone. And now you have Liz Truss, the new Prime Minister. And as a woman, I truly believe she's been left there to do the housekeeping after the mess that is Brexit, because it'll be a disaster as it already is. But so she's been left to clean up the mess. The problem for her this week, there'll be more, is that her chief of staff has been found that he was sending money to interfere in the Puerto Rico elections. Now, Puerto Rico has suffered considerable interference with the elections, as everybody is now because it's a cyber world. So we have to keep an eye on Puerto Rico. Now, I'm going to move to the Russian cards because I know a lot of you have been asking what's happening with Putin. Now, Putin himself, we know, is profoundly heartless and dangerous because of that. He's so desperate, he's opened the doors to open conscription. So that means anyone between 18 and 65 or something who hasn't already been conscripted to the Russian army is about to be conscripted. And people have taken to the streets. And you have to say, how brave are those souls? But I think we're looking at maybe just a few more months of Putin. Perhaps I'd like it to be less, but I think it'll take a few more months to play out. But I think the real question is who is going to replace him? Because it's easy to get sucked into short-term thinking, isn't it, Luna? Oh, just get rid of Putin and it'll be great. What if he's replaced in a military coup? What if he's replaced by someone who's just as bad as he is? And the chances are really high because the people in the inner sanctum of the Duma or the Kremlin, are of one mind. So I think that's the wrong question. We need to find out who's going to replace Putin. Who's going to replace Putin? Who's going to replace Putin? All right. All right. Well, these cards, by the way, because people always ask me once I use them, aren't they fabulous? And they are the 12 chairs tarot. Now, here we have Putin. This is how Putin's feeling. Okay. So he's threatened by everybody and what's going on. His world has got smaller and smaller and smaller because he doesn't trust anybody at all. He's feeling impinged. I think someone was brave enough to say to him, step aside. See, don't forget he's made himself president for life. I think someone has had the conversation. You can't win in Ukraine. It's not going to happen. You're best to back off or even step aside. I think someone was brave enough to have that conversation. But here we have the Eight of Cups, the person going away. Sorry to laugh, it's a very serious thing, but it's like whoever asked him so far hasn't fallen out a window or under a car or, found with their head in the oven. No, but they've had to leave. They've had to leave their job, leave the country on a train getting out because they were brave enough to speak. So who's going to replace Putin? It's going to be someone who's going to play the nostalgia card, who's going to say enough of the Putin things, like we're going to make Russia great again. Are we not sick of these empty slogans? Let's go back to when things were fabulous. Now, I'm not quite sure when that was in Russia, depending who you speak to. But that's going to be the line, returning to stability and or greatness. But now here are two interesting cards. The Chariot and the Two of Cups. This is happening as we speak. I think there are factions behind the scenes. I'm not getting Navalny in this. I don't think Navalny is going to be swept to power in a popular wave. How much would I love to be wrong about that? So Navalny, I suspect, doesn't have enough support. He has the support of the under 40s, but it's still the older people who are calling the shots. But this is happening quickly now. So even though I said it might be a few months for Putin, and it might be, it's not going to be years, and they're working on this quite quickly. They then get the Two of Cups. I think here, I think Putin actually has a woman who's one of the few people he does trust, who's going around who has access at a high level to both the generals, those who haven't been wiped out in the Ukraine because they've lost a lot of generals. This is a woman who can talk to the top of the military. She can talk to their spies, because lest we forget, Putin came from an espionage background. So she's part of this. And she has her ear to what people are saying on the street. You see, she looks young and non-threatening. And I think he's very reliant on this young woman. So I don't think we got an out-and-out answer to the question. I remember when I did read more in depth on this some months ago, the guy Shiugu, who has been in favor, out of favor, back in favor with Putin, is pivotal to making the final decision. But I think Russia has a way to go yet before it becomes a recognizable democracy to the West. But the first step is tipping Putin off his perch. Now, put away the Russian cards here. So we have to keep a very close eye on Moore versus Harper. I must remind myself to do that in the next video, because that is the case that gives these supersonic powers to the states to actually throw the votes in the bin and decide amongst themselves who will win in each state. I mean, it is an oligarchy. If that happens, if that gets up, that Moore versus Harper ruling, if it gets up, America is then a fully fledged oligarchy. Yeah. But I don't think it's going to come to that. So let's look now to finish with how Biden's traveling. How are the Dems feeling? They'd obviously be feeling better than they were a few months ago. There's been a lot of wins that were long overdue. So let's see how the Dems are feeling. And it's that fine line between feeling confident but not overconfident. So let's see how are the Dems going. How are the Dems going? Right. All right. I think choices have to be made. Now, this is the last leg. It's going to be very intense in the next 6 or 7 weeks, or however long it is to the midterms. They have to make quick choices now. And they're not quite sure about their messaging still. That makes me a bit twitchy. They've got the moon. Now, with the moon card, for those learning tarot, when Sienna and I designed this deck, we tried to make it clearer than it was. One's a domestic dog and one's a wild dog. So they have to, these are twos. See the twin pillars and the two here. They have to bring their two wings together between the old guard that might make middle of the road GOP people feel safe. It's like the Bideners teddy bear factor, versus they need the youth vote, and they are more interested in a more radical agenda with the young AOCs, etc. But also not just literally in age. You let your progressives out, Dems. The Elizabeth Warrens, the Katie Porters, let them out. Pete Buttigieg is killing it on Fox. Let them off the chain in some places. And I think the Pelosi type should be talking to the middle GOP. But the rest of the Dems are craving something else. I think they'll pull it off. This is the Four of Wands. It's very stable. The Dems always have a harder job of bringing all these diverse groups into the tent, so to speak. And I think they'll manage to do this, which will be a great relief to the world. Okay. So, guys, housekeeping. Today's Friday, right, Thursday in the US. Now, on Saturday, I'll be live with Hogarth and Lady G, and I think that is 5 p.m. Eastern Standard Time. So go to Hogarth's channel and you can be part of the live chat. Now, speaking of live, the launch of the new cards, boom, boom, is Monday, October 3rd at 8 p.m. EST. Put that in your calendar. I'll be reminding you. But, and a lot of the readers are coming, bless. And we're going to have a great 2 hours, and you can join live. Now, the other thing you can do between now and then is post questions. And you can do that by going to Sienna Rose's channel, the community page, and then click on this event and you can leave your questions. And don't forget, this is a tarot party. So we're not asking deep political questions. We're asking far more general things about life and the universe. And there's nothing wrong with a bit of gossip. So feel free to ask gossipy questions as well. So you do that by jumping on Sienna Rose Metaphysical community page, and we'll keep you posted between now and then. Okay? So take care, guys. Keep the comments rolling in. Thank you for all the well wishes about the 600th video. Okay. Stay cool. Bye. Ciao, ciao.